I would think that.
This makes sense.
This should be the first question I get.
We'll open it up with Bill.
Show disrespect.
Last year in Wisconsin game, you guys were very conservative offensively, and I know that coaches were concerned about not being able to take advantage of what they were giving you. How confident are you this year that if they give you the same kind of look, you'll be able to take advantage of it?
I think that's probably the biggest development in the past 12 months has been our development of the skill position, being able to throw the ball more efficiently, and some of the things last year that we weren't comfortable with, we're more comfortable now. I mean, obviously that's been evident through the first 4 games, and that's something we have to be able to do. We should have been able to do it last year, and we were deficient at times, and this year that's something that we're going to rely on. As teams want to do things like Wisconsin did last year against us, we're going to take advantage of what their weaknesses, and we feel more competent at doing that now.
When you look at last year's games, were there lots of times you say, oh, this year I'm going to
I wouldn't say a lot of times. I mean, they weren't doing stuff last year that's that outrageous that you look at and say, my gosh, we need to take advantage of this or this. I mean, they just, every defense has a weakness somewhere, and last year we didn't feel great about the weakness that they had attacking it. So this year we feel much better about it, for sure.
Middle, Dave.
Dave Middle, Bucknuts. Zach, give an update on James Clark. How's he doing after the injury?
He's doing well. He's doing well. He had an ankle injury, and he's probably done for the year. So we'll move forward with him. I mean, as far as his mentality and his psyche, he's doing really well. I mean, we were excited about his development and how he was coming, but obviously the injuries happen in football. So we're looking forward to an off season for him and getting stronger and a better understanding of the offense, so we're excited about it.
I imagine he can still redshirt since it was only in the 4th game.
I believe so. I'm not 100% positive, but I think he can.
And one more quick question. Corey Smith, Michael Thomas, those guys, I imagine redshirting a freshman is one thing. When you have to redshirt an upperclassman, I know Urban said we're not redshirting for sure.
Yeah.
Right now that's the plan. How tough is that on them? Do you have to play kind of counselor with them a little bit?
I mean, I don't think it's tough on them because they see it as a positive for their future. I mean, we would hate to just put them in mop-up duty on a game that, where we wanted to get the starters out, and then they waste a whole year kind of not being a contributing factor to the offense. So I think they're excited about that, but at the same time, they want to get on the field. The good thing is we're not saying, hey, you're going to redshirt, go over here, we'll get to you in the offseason. I mean, they are preparing like they're going to play because at any moment they could be the guy that has to go in and play. So it's a good thing because they're going to get a whole year of preparing to play as if they were a starter before they are. So we're excited about it, and they're in a good place mentally in how they're handling it, how they're approaching every game.
Front row middle, Todd.
He threw it 34 times in the first half last week. How much of that was in preparation for what we may see this week against Wisconsin in terms of what schemes, what you guys prep for, pass blocking, picking up those blitzes?
I don't know if it was necessarily a prep for this game. I think it was more that was obviously an area we needed to improve this year. And when we came out in that game, we threw the ball quite a bit because that's something that we felt like has made a dramatic improvement, and we needed to get those live game reps at doing it. Because it's one thing to be able to do it in practice, another to be able to do it in front of 107,000. And so that's why we did it, and because that's what they were giving us. So I mean, we didn't go into it saying, hey, let's work on this, this, and this. It was more, okay, this is what is going to be successful, so let's do it. And it was also beneficial because now we're getting those live game reps at working on that.
How much different is Wisconsin's defensive philosophy?
A little bit different. I mean, obviously they're going to play to their personnel, so I don't know what their philosophy will be down the road, but it's a little different than it was last year. Probably a little more man coverage, a little more press man, more challenging for the wide receivers, but nothing dramatic.
Front row right, Austin.
Zach, Devin's averaging still like 41 yards per touchdown catch. Does that number surprise you? And how do you develop a home run hitting ability like that?
It doesn't really surprise me. He's a very talented vertical threat. I mean, where his development has really has been in the throws that are more intermediate throws. I mean, the routes that are more intermediate routes. He's really taken steps in doing that. As far as the deep routes, I mean, he has a better understanding of how to lock a corner's hips, to turn a guy opposite of where he's trying to go. So he's improved, but he's been a dynamic vertical threat since I got here. I mean, he can run. He can run straight line, and the steps he's made have been more at becoming a receiver as opposed to just a deep threat guy.
Yeah, he had one, in the red zone on the Saturday, but is he more effective just when he has that ability to turn on the jets? Is that in the past? I mean, I know you're talking about developing now.
I think he's become effective pretty much in any part of the field, but a guy like that with a vertical threat where corners really have to honor him vertically, like you said, 41 yards a touchdown catch is kind of astounding. And they see that on film. So once he has that threat, there is that fear of getting beat. Everything else opens up. So, I mean, he's as effective anywhere on the field, but with that vertical threat, no different than any receiver. Anytime you can, a corner has the threat of a vertical pass, everything else is going to be better.
Front row middle, Steve.
Yeah, Coach, Steve Hellweg with Buckeyes. The question I have is, in 4 different games, you've had 2 different guys catch 2 touchdown passes. I mean, that keeps everybody happy. Just talk about that dynamic and the idea that your opponents have no idea who's going to be the go-to guy on any given day.
That's probably the biggest thing we needed to do coming into this year was not just have Philly Brown or and Devin Smith running vertical. We needed to establish a wider arsenal of skilled players to use. So that was critical for us because defenses can take away one guy, one position, but if they have to worry about across the board 5 skilled players at every snap, everything opens up. So that was something we really needed to do this year, and fortunately it's happening so far.
I want to ask one other thing. About 80% of the minutes your team has played this year, you guys have been up 2 touchdowns in the game. To go into a game which figures to be 17-13, whatever it could end up being, a tight game, a competitive game, you feel your guys are ready to put what they've been through already, the non-competitive part of the season, and get ready for this part of the season?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what our program's built around. Our program's not built to, perform when you're up by 20. Our whole program is built around, all right, it's that competitive moment where you got to either win the game or you lose the game, and that's what we've worked on for 12 months, is who's going to perform when the pressure's on. So, that's, obviously we haven't seen it yet this year, but that's all we do, is prepare our guys to respond to adversity, prepare our guys in a tight situation, pressure on. They have to make the play. They have to. So we feel confident about it because that's what we've done for 12 months, is prepare them for that.
Far left, Rusty.
Rusty Miller, AP. Zach, what one play sticks out in your mind from last year's Wisconsin game?
Carlos Hyde's touchdown in, I believe it was the 4th quarter. Might have been overtime, I can't remember. But Carlos Hyde's run, we ran power, and he was completely untouched from, I think, 20-some yards out. And it's the play that sticks out the most from the whole season. It was a phenomenal job by the offensive line. I mean, really, anyone in this room could have ran it in. He was untouched through the AF just like he's supposed to, and it was kind of the essence of the season. Was our offensive line carried us in that game, and when it came time to make a play like I just talked about, they made every block, did a great job, and he went right in the end zone. We ended up winning the game.
Far left, Ari.
Right here, Coach. Evan Spencer was somebody who was mentioned probably the most out of anybody as one of the most improved players through a preseason camp. Where have you seen the biggest leap in his development as a player, and was it nice to kind of see him break through and get some scores here?
Yeah, every aspect of his game has improved. I mean, he was always a very good kid who worked hard, but he's taken steps to improve the details of being a receiver, and that's in blocking on the perimeter, that's in running routes, that's in getting open on one-on-one coverage. I mean, he's improved every aspect of his game. It was great to see him go out and finally get in the end zone, and that's had a lot to do with kind of the situation we've been in and what defenses were giving us as to why he didn't beforehand. But he's very, very capable, and it was good to see him do that.
What was it about him during fall camp, though, that kind of made him stand out from the rest as somebody who,
probably just consistency, and not that other guys weren't consistent, but he went from somewhat inconsistent to a very consistent, accountable receiver. And it was a dramatic change from last year to this year, where now he's a guy that you don't worry about him getting his job done. Matter of fact, a lot of times you place him somewhere because you know he will get his job done. And other guys like Philly we feel have great confidence in him, but we started towards the end of last year also. So that's not a dramatic change, it's just kind of who he became. And Evan took that step this offseason.
Far right, Tim?
Yeah, two things. Zach, number one, from your vantage point, how well did Kenny Guyton do Saturday? Just because obviously it looked like they were taking the deep stuff away from you guys. Just talk about the way he looked around the field. What was y'all's reaction to the way he sort of surveyed the thing and got the ball to the right guy?
That's kind of Kenny.
Second or third choice many times.
Yeah, that's kind of Kenny's MO. You know, Coach Meyer, I think, called him a distributor. He's a guy that understands football very, very well. He prepares himself really well. And so when we go out there, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch him just go through his reads progressionally and getting to the guy that the defense is giving him. And it's really awesome to watch. And he's no better person to watch do it than him, just because he's such a great kid. And you know he's prepared so hard and so well to do that.
And the other thing, you just touched on a minute ago about watching Carlos go 20 yards untouched to the A gap. This seems like an almost my running game's better than your running game kind of game. I mean, do y'all approach it a little bit like that? Is there a little bit of pride on the line from that standpoint of going against Wisconsin, which is the big time running attack?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Ed Warner would say there's a little bit of pride on the line, especially because of stigmas that are associated with the spread offense and kind of untrue things that are said about the spread offense as if they're all the same. And this is what everyone knows: Wisconsin's run attack and how it's a power run game and how that's kind of what they do. And this is definitely there's a little bit of pride in that. That's what we do too. We're a power run football team, and it may be out of different sets. It may not be with a bunch of tight ends and fullbacks and everyone on the field, but we're still going to run right at you and hit you in the mouth, and we're going to run power football. So there's definitely some pride in that, and definitely we view this as a chance to just kind of show people that that's what we are and that's what we do.
Front row left, Lori.
Lori Schmidt, 97.1 The Fan. Coach, as good a player as he is, what are the challenges of integrating Braxton back into what you do when he's played basically one game and your entire offense has played four?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some comfort there with Braxton. I mean, we went through all fall camp with him all spring, and I mean, he's been our quarterback. So there's not a whole lot of comfort in integrating him back in. I think it's just now he's back healthy. He's been preparing every week as if he was going to play. So it's not like he was gone for 2 weeks and just came back from vacation. You know, he's been around, and we've been ready for him to come back. And whoever the quarterback is, we're ready for it.
Doug, front row left.
Doug Landry, Cleveland.com. Zach, obviously this has been a pretty good rivalry with Ohio State and Wisconsin in recent years. Things have changed. Do you miss Brett Bielema this week?
You always miss great coaches, you know.
In this game, for any coach, how much do you think a team sort of adopts the personality of its head coach or plays, not just the style of football, but whether it's this team with Urban Meyer or with Wisconsin with Gary Anderson or Brett Bielema or with Jim Tressel or anybody, do teams follow the lead of their head coach in some ways?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the head coach sets the tone for the program, the mentality of the team, the attitude of the team. I think the head coach is the demeanor you see on Saturday, and no more evident than what we've done up to date here. I mean, just the intensity that we play with and the physical demeanor, and that is who our head coach is. And that's why we play that way. If you had what do they call it, a player's coach that's just, laid back and all that, that's a lot of times what you get on the field. And that's not something we want, and that's not something we would ever be. But I think 120 teams in the country all have the demeanor and personality of their head coach. I think that's consistent throughout the country.
Second row left, Ben.
Zach, you were with Urban at Bowling Green. You were with him at Florida. Is the atmosphere around this program the same as it was at those two stops, or are there any differences?
I think it's very similar. I mean, he's obviously changed over the years, just as everyone in the room has, but it's very similar. I mean, the program hasn't changed. The program's been successful since he first took a head coaching job in 2001. So the core foundation of the program is the same as when I walked into Bowling Green at 18 years old. And but obviously there's been developments and enhancements that I don't know that it year to year you can notice that many differences, but from 2001 to 2013, there's been definite change.
What are some of those core things that have kind of led to that success?
The foundation?
Yeah.
Oh, just what I talked about, just how the whole program's structured, how everything we do is based on developing the mentality and demeanor of a team, just the competitive nature, really the competitive, what Coach Meyer calls competitive excellence, where when pressure's on, you're going to make a play to win the game because you've been put in that situation for 12 months. And that's something that's never changed. And then obviously the core values that we live by and believe in, that we think are absolutely critical to a good football team and a good person and a good player.
Last two questions. Far right, Greg.
Greg Couch at Fox Sports. You were talking about power running games of the two teams. I wanted to ask you about Midwestern football. Is there still such a thing as Midwestern football? Has it changed, and is it still viable in the modern game?
As far as you mean I formation, power run game, the stereotypical Midwest offense is what you're talking about?
Well, or however you think, but yeah.
I don't know that it's changed really nationwide. You watch some of these teams like LSU and the teams that are running power run game. I mean, that is an essence of football that really I don't know that will ever change. You're going to have your basketball on grass offenses and all these radar crazy defenses, and those things are kind of flavor of the month. But as far as tried and true, year in, year out, that will stand the test of time, I think a toughness element in your scheme, in your program, in your offense, in your defense is the only lasting factor. So I think it's changing, it's evolving, there's different ways to do it, different ways to get to it, but I think that's something that is never going to change, that toughness, that power, run game, the defense that's built on the D-line, those are things that are universal.
Last question, far left, Rob.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch. Zach, when you have two different quarterbacks, that play calling can change a little bit. Just curious how it affects your coaching of receivers. Do the routes adjust a little bit? Do you have to worry about blocking, coach up blocking a little more when it's Braxton because he's going to run a little more maybe? How does that change?
Our offense really doesn't change a ton. I mean, there may be certain plays that we like better with Braxton or that we like better with Kenny or that we like better with whoever, but as far as coaching the receivers, it's really no different. I mean, there's going to be perimeter runs, there's going to be interior runs, there's going to be drop back passes, break contain nakeds. That stuff is not that much different. I mean, I don't coach them any different. I won't coach them any different this week than I did last week or the week before when Braxton was or was not playing.
Zach, thank you very much.
Thanks, Zach.
We'll be right back with Greg Stickle.